The Tampa Bay Rays have finally signed an infielder that they were rumored for the last 3 days or so to have an agreement on. This is Gillis TV here on Clem Hawks. Welcome in, folks. If you're new to the channel and you don't mind hitting that subscribe button, that'd be greatly appreciated by Clem Hawks himself and I. We are 6 away from our goal of 4,000. Never reached 4,000 before, so we're greatly appreciated for that. Now, like I said, the Rays have formally announced their extension with infielder Yandy Diaz. Mark Topkin of the Tampa Bay Times tweets that Diaz will be paid $6 million in 2023, $8 million in 2024, and $10 million in 2025. So $24 million average over the next 3 seasons. There is a $12 million option for a 4th season, which does not contain a buyout, which is good for the Tampa Bay Rays in that sense. The extension would cover Diaz's final 2 years of arbitration control and at least one of his free agent eligible seasons. Diaz and the Rays were slated for an arbitration hearing to determine his 2023 salary after not reaching an agreement by the filling deadline. Diaz was looking for $6.3 million and the club countered with $5.5 million, ultimately meeting in the middle with this one at $6 million. Instead, it now looks like Diaz will be the third hearing-bound Tampa Bay player to sign an extension this week after the Tampa Bay Rays have re-signed Jeffrey Springs to a 4-year, $31 million extension on Wednesday, while Pete Fairbanks agreed to a deal worth $12 million over 3 years guaranteed last Friday. An ARB hearing is usually the result when two sides don't agree on 1 year salary prior to the figuring exchange deadline, yet clubs often try to pursue multi-year deals as something as a loophole around the self-exposed file and trial strategy deployed by most of the leagues. Diaz, Springs, and Fairbanks were 3 of 7 Rays players that didn't agree to terms by the deadline, and even the remaining group of 4, Harold Ramirez, Colin Posh, Ryan Thompson, and Jason Adams, still represent an unusual large amount of players to be heading for hearings. It certainly wouldn't be surprising to see if the Rays worked out with at least one or more extensions before the hearings start taking place in the coming weeks. For Diaz, the new contracts locked in some long-term security and the first major payday for the player who turned 31 last August. Beginning his career in his native Cuba, Diaz was twice arrested before finally defecting on his 3rd attempt. That doesn't make sense. Anyway, back in 2018, a headline gambling 3-team trade between the Rays, now the Guardians, and the Mariners saw Diaz head from Cleveland to Tampa as part of the 5-player swap that the Rays had interest in Diaz's ability to make contact and draw walks. And those skills have certainly translated as Diaz's career has progressed. Since the start of the 2020 season, Diaz ranked 6th among all qualified hitters in a walk rate of 13.7 and 9th in a strikeout rate of 13.1. Diaz hits .266 over his first 3 seasons with the Rays, good for a solid 117 WRC plus over 1,026 plate appearances. However, Diaz took the production up a level last season with 146 WRC plus while hitting .296 with 9 home runs over 558 plate appearances and finishing with elite percentiles in several major StatCast categories. That's hard to say in a while. For right-handed batter, Diaz's career's numbers against left-handed pitchers have been relatively modest heading into the 2022 season, but last year he crushed southpaws to a tune of a 0.892 OPS over 145 plate appearances. One flaw in Diaz's performance was a lack of glove work. Public defense metrics have indicated that he is a well below average for a third baseman over the last 2 seasons. This stands out even more on a defense consensus club like the Tampa Bay Rays. though the Rays might ideally look at Diaz more often as a first baseman in 2023 or over the course of a long-term deal. In the big picture, locking up Diaz seems like a shrewd move for the Tampa Bay Rays. Perhaps the most intriguing element is that the Rays have now extended a 31-year-old player, as it is fairly common for the teams to shop players and as they get increasingly expensive. There hadn't been any real trade buzz surrounding Diaz, however, and this far the Rays have now locked up 3 members of their infield with Diaz, Wander Franco, and Brandon Lowe. Though possibility the 2026 season depending on the status of the club's option for Diaz and Lowe, of course, the Rays could still end up shopping Diaz, Lowe, or even Franco down the road, but as of right now, it doesn't seem likely. So this is just a good signing by the Tampa Bay Rays to get one of their guys, hey, they trust in. Yes, he has defensive liabilities, but like I've said in previous videos about teams, it is not just about defense. It's having the team that, circles around the offense-defensive side. You're going to have some hitters who can just hit the ball, be really good, get on base, but defensively, they're below average. You're going to have guys who are above average defensively, below average offensively, and it still works in that lineup if you keep them in the same space for time to come. So being the Tampa Bay Rays, this is a really good signing for them to keep him going. And with, the club option for that 4th year, the option they have in place, that just means, that if they don't want to pay him $12 million because, he's slacking, they don't have to. But if he's producing even more as his production keeps increasing as age goes, he could be someone that they go, hey, he's $12 million. We're keeping him because at this, what his production is, at this price point, it is a lot easier said than done to get a guy like that at that production. So it's a good move by, of course, both teams, and avoiding arbitration. Arbitration's a killer when it comes to teams and players, because if it goes to arbitration and both the player and the team can't decide, players like to tend to walk away after a little bit because they feel unappreciated, they feel like you think they're not worth that much, and so on and so forth. So hopefully the Rays can also go out and get those 4 other guys, or at least most of them, signed before the arbitration hearing. But I'm just rambling on. Sorry about this video. It's been a long day. But hey, I'm Gillis TV here on Clemox. Have a good one.